Hey everybody, it's Thorfinn here, and I kind of want to go over patch 8.1, 8.11, and first I want to listen to these
Hey
guys
all,
and kind of
I'm
give
Coleman. I'm a
my
product manager on Valorant Game.
sort of thought
And I'm
process
Dan.
about this.
I
I'm
work
gonna
with
turn this
Coleman
down a
as a
little
game
bit.
designer on agents and live balance.
We're here to discuss some of the work we've been doing this year, and give you our thoughts on additional changes coming down the road.
But first, we've heard a lot of feedback from y'all about map rotations lately, and we've been talking as a team about how we can make this experience better overall. Rest assured that your feedback has been heard loud and clear. As a starting point, we're going to be more transparent around map rotations going forward, so you all know when they're happening ahead of time.
I think this is really important. I think this is also good for pro play, to just know when maps will be rotated. I'm expecting this rotation to be here, and then they'll probably do another map rotation before January, so probably in December or something like that. Yeah, actually, probably even before December, realistically. Let's see, June, July, August, September, October, November. I'd say probably on a 6 month cycle. I feel like it'll be pretty solid for the game and not too terrible for the pro players.
In the spirit of this, we want to confirm that the map pool will be rotating with patch 8.11 in early June.
Okay.
Breeze and Split will be rotating out, and Haven will be...
I think this is really dumb. I know that they just put Icebox back in, but they also just put Breeze back in, and I think that Breeze and Icebox are the two maps that people think are inherently flawed and need to be fixed, but have not yet. But you know, I'm glad at least Breeze is out. Split, I feel like was a weird choice. I would have rather taken Ascent, just out of like age, and I think that Split is actually not the worst map. I feel like it's gotten a lot better from where it once was. But Ascent is still like insanely defensive sided.
rotating back in. Now, let's dive into our main topic.
Haven's back though, so.
Role diversity. For context, the live game team's top priority for 2024 has been to increase intra-role diversity across the roster. Basically, looking at each role and ensuring more agents are viable in each one.
And
Okay.
promoting role diversity sometimes means toning down
I'm
the
glad
power
that they're
of an agent
talking
who's
about this
dominant
because
against
this
other
is like
agents
really
in that
important,
role, or even other roles entirely
and
forgetting
it
to.
definitely needed
That
to
was the
be
reasoning behind our
done.
changes to Sky and Viper earlier this year. On the other side of things, often this can mean we also have to give a little bit of power back to weaker agents within a role like Chamber, Deadlock, or Gecko.
With changes like these, we often see players ask, why not just buff our weaker agents to match our most powerful ones? And we hear you. Buffs are fun. But there are two main reasons why we don't focus on buffing weaker agents as our primary balancing approach.
Before he talks about it, I think that this is like the best approach they can have to balancing. I think trying to ensure that abilities aren't overwhelming is super important. Because I think now abilities can be pretty overwhelming with the current landscape of the game, especially bringing back with double controller. Well, not double controller, double initiator. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see what else is
The
here.
first is that Valorant as a game is more than just agents. It's a tactical shooter.
Yeah.
The Valorant experience is a balancing act between agent utility,
Yeah, same thing
lethal
there.
gunplay, and tactical map design. If we buffed all of our agents to
You
match
need to
our
work on the map
strongest
design
ones
then,
in
buddy.
terms of power,
But-
we'd run the risk of agent abilities overshadowing everything else. Instead, we strive to maintain a healthy power level for our agents, and then tune our roster accordingly.
Second, as you all keep playing the game, your aim, creativity, and teamwork keep getting better. So you have to constantly reevaluate the game. For example, Jet from the open beta would be an absolute terror if she was unleashed on Valorant in 2024. And back then, she was widely considered underpowered. So you have to ensure we're maintaining that balance while also keeping up with
That's
the
a good example.
None of this is to say we won't ever buff agents. In fact, we'll talk about some buffs in a minute. But nerfing agents is also a very important responsibility of ours. It ensures that Valorant will still feel like Valorant for years to come.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk about some balance changes that you'll be seeing very soon.
Yeah, this is what we
In
want.
early June, with patch 8.11, we're shifting our focus to the duelist role. Over time, we've seen pick diversity decline among duelists, especially in higher skill and pro play brackets.
So, we'll be shipping some nerfs to Raze, focused on her satchel mobility.
This is kind of, I don't know, it's weird because a lot of people really like are up in flames about this like particular statement. Personally, I think this means the people that Raze can move with her satchels This is what I mean by this is she shouldn't be able to move teammates or opponents. It should only affect her, right? Realistically, this would just make her satchels like less useful because her satchels can do so many things. They can break utility, they can push people off angles, they can boost people onto boxes and stuff. And it's just there's a lot of stuff you can do with the raised satchels that I think is just kind of unfair. In Valorant, the kind of like idea that um, the game has and what I think we all want it to be is where each like ability has kind of its own use, and getting multiple different uses out of it is really what makes that piece of utility really strong. So yeah.
as she's been an overly dominant pick in this space.
Yeah.
And as for buffs,
Also, people will complain about like they might be nerfing her actual movement with the satchels, but I think that's not terrible. If you guys don't know, Raze actually moves a bigger distance than Jet with just one satchel, and she has two. So, you get what I'm saying? Like she is really good, and there's a reason why Raze is always like one of the highest pick rate duelists, alongside Jet. So
we see several candidates who have an opportunity to be more relevant in the current meta. ISO, Neon, and Reyna. Don't worry, we'll explain that last one. Yeah.
I really don't like how they don't bring up Phoenix here, and I think it's a shame that they're probably not going to adjust his kit at all, because I think that Phoenix will always is kind of in the same spot as like Reyna, where he's really good in ranked realistically, but even then it's just his flash and his ultimate, and the rest of his kit is basically useless. So I really wish they would have touched on that, but you know, I'll take what I can get.
For ISO and Neon, we're leaning into strengthening what makes them unique. Namely, we'll be adjusting ISO's shield paradigm and Neon's slide, as well.
So the big thing that I think you want as a Neon player is the ability to get through utility a lot easier. I think that Neon slide is kind of shit. It's just slower than all the other movement abilities in the game. It leaves you more vulnerable, and it really gives you nothing. So I'd really like to see her slide maybe break like utility. I think would be really neat. It could be really strong, obviously, like to be able to break utility, but also it could only break like on the initial slide, and then once it sort of slows down and you start to stand up from the slide, that's when you just can't break utility. I think that would be really cool, or just the ability to shrug off utility while you're sliding. So kind of the idea that you can slide through mollies and not really take damage or something like that, I think would be really neat. And with ISO shield paradigm, it's pretty simple. You just make it so where he doesn't have to shoot the fucking aim labs bubbles, because that just makes the ability basically fucking useless, because you kill a guy and you have to flick up and ruin your crosshair placement, so if someone re-peeks you as you get the shield really doesn't matter.
Plus some small other tweaks. And for Reyna, we know she's quite strong in ranked, but she actually struggles in more coordinated team play. So her changes aim to improve her.
Realistically, I don't think Reyna is strong in ranked. I think it's just people are good at the game. Personally, I think that Reyna could be replaced by any other agent, and you could just get more kills and just be better to your team. Personally, my thought process is they should make Reyna's dismiss and heal a single ability. So you get one charge of it after you get a kill, you can use it, and then you have to get 2 more kills after that, so in total of 3 kills to use it again in a round. Her ultimate could be the same. I feel like that would be fine. And then add another ability. This ability could be a damaging ability or like a decay type of ability, but I could also see it be like a close range info, something like a Roomba, but thrown like a Leer. So you basically can throw it around a corner and it can scan close, not far distances, just close distances. I think that would be pretty decent. Other than that, I don't really see any other way to make her team play better besides just adding an entirely new ability.
Her viability in those team environments like Premier and Pro, also reducing some of her current rank strains.
These balance changes in 8.11.
Yeah, so I think that that's probably where that would come in, because if realistically you might think that combining those two abilities makes her stronger in ranked, but it just doesn't, because you only get one heal. I could also see the heal being capped and not limit, like, full, so like 100 heal similar to Clove heal, except you get the dismiss as well, or something like that. I think that would be really pretty good.
Will most likely be the last significant ones you see from us until after champs. We want to make sure that pro teams have plenty of time to get used to these changes after Masters Shanghai and adjust accordingly. Of course, you'll still see smaller patches roll out during.
Okay, so that's kind of the gist of what they said. They talked more about the replay system and stuff like that, but that's really not the main consensus of this video. So I'm gonna go to, actually, hold on. We're gonna do this because I think it'd be fun, and we're gonna go to Haven anyway. By the way, if they change this map at all, I'm gonna be really upset. But so I kind of want to talk about these changes, right? And kind of what I think that these changes could do, right? So realistically, I think Reyna could be pretty good. If she has like another ability to make her useful. So the problem with Reyna is a lot of people in ranked, and even at like higher levels of ranked play, think that Reyna, because she's a duelist, needs to be the first one out, and that's really not how she's designed, right? She's designed to be a second like support agent, basically, right? And the reason why she's not useful in pro play is because if you can pick a Reyna, right, but you also have a Breach, one just has more utility to consistently support your teammates, right? Now, there are some teams that, like, pick Reyna over Breach, right? Like, Paper X or, like, FPX, right? But the thing is, like, it shows. A lot of the times when you're playing on a Reyna map, unless your Reyna is playing well, you really don't see much value out of Reyna. I mean, her flashes are decent, but they're not, like, great, and they're not very easy to capitalize on. So realistically, I think adding a close range information piece of utility would be pretty good. So what I mean by close range is kind of like this, right? So imagine like this is the area that it clears out, right? So it's very similar to a Roomba, with kind of its premise. It's a piece of info utility that is very close range. It's not for like clearing super long distances, but I think that this realistically could actually help her a lot, right? Especially on a map like Haven, particularly, because you can throw them through these walls, right? You can go here and you can clear like close B, or you can clear like here, right? I think this ability would be pretty good. You just give her one of these, and you know, this close range ability. Obviously, you'd have to adjust it to the Leer. It would need to be able to be broken before it like scanned, and I think that the scan should be probably like a 1 pulse ping rather than consistent as it's not being shot. So pretty much more of like a, hey, I know you're there, and that's it, rather than being able to spam off of it or anything like that. It should just be like a, hey, there's someone on this bomb site. I know they're on this bomb site. Maybe even make it not a scan, but just like an audible ping, where you'd hear like a boom or something like that, right? Like a, I don't know, some fucking Reyna sound. I think would be pretty good. Next, we're going to talk about ISO, right? So obviously, they're fixing his shield, right? But his ultimate is really good, realistically. Kind of. It's good, but not in the way you think. It's good for like hitting a site with it and just getting the site anchor off. But the problem is that there's a chance that ISO can just die from using this ultimate. Now, realistically, what I think would be a pretty good buff to this to make ISO like strong is that you make it so where he doesn't die, right? Like he comes back. It's like a revive. You know, it's sort of like a Phoenix ult or something like that, right? But also, I could see how that would make this alt kind of super strong, and also it really doesn't fit like his theme as an agent. So I think what would be good is like adding a shield uh, into this, right? As well as like making it so where you don't regain HP. So if you are low and ISO hits you with the ult, you stay at the same HP. Basically just giving him an advantage, because right now he really doesn't have one, which I think is stupid, because that's kind of the point of ultimates, is to give you an advantage. Every single ultimate gives you an advantage. This brings you back to life, that's an advantage. This denies info, that's an advantage. This giga stuns you, that's an advantage, right? This fucking beams you with lasers, okay? This gives you an operator that's better than an operator. That's an advantage. This gives you information. That's an advantage. This just captures you. That's an advantage. You see what I'm saying? And I feel like ISO is really the only person where the ultimate doesn't give you an onset advantage, just gives you a straight 50-50, which is really not good for pro play. Next, so his wall is like really small, as you can see. So I feel like extending it so we can fit these more common angles, I think would be really cool. As well as maybe giving him the ability to stop it, I could also see be pretty nice. But realistically, just make it bigger. If you make it bigger, it would just be a lot better, right? Like you could throw this out here. Your teammates don't have to worry about like this line or this line as they come up and clear. Stuff like that would be pretty interesting, and I think could make ISO not meta, but definitely usable in ranked, right? Because I feel like in ranked he's just kind of useless, but actually make it usable with that. And then Neon again. Personally, I think the big problem with Neon is like fixing the clipping issues and stuff, or just have her wall be able to go through walls. I feel like would be fine. I personally don't understand how it just can't go through walls, because it basically just makes it goddamn pointless almost, because you have to get like in the middle of the open in order to use it effectively. So I feel like doing that for Phoenix as well, actually, with his wall, that would be a really big buff for Phoenix, just being able to throw his wall through walls, as well as pretty much make it pretty decent to run double controller, well double duelist, because you have an extra wall utility, and that would really cement Phoenix and Neon in the meta and provide some pretty interesting double duelist compositions that I don't think are really possible in the current meta. So I think it'd be interesting, as well as like again, I think her slide should be able to break utility, or it just like, you know, she doesn't, or it's just a faster slide. I feel like would be better, because it's really slow, right? Like Jack can get to here, so out of this choke, Jack can get to here, and Neon can get to like here, right? And then Raze can get to here. So the fact that, you know, Neon doesn't really have anything with that, right? And you have to be sprinting to use the slide. So it's not like Jet where you can tap it and get ready. So you can't use it as an escape piece. You can't use it as like Raze can use it as an escape piece as well. Neon's whole thing is like you have to be like in a good position to slide, otherwise it gets super countered, right? Which I think is the reason why it needs to do something else. If you make something easy to catch people off with or something like that, it needs to have something more to it, right? Like, for example, the Neon stuns are really small radiuses, but they are that way because it's easy to bounce them off shit, right? So realistically, I think you need to do something similar in this case, and kind of provide something else to the Neon slide. Otherwise, it's just a worse version of a Jet Dash and a worse version of a Raze Satchel. Yeah, I think this update could be pretty interesting. I'm not surprised they didn't touch Yoru. I think Yoru is going to slowly become more meta now the double controller is basically not officially dead, but it's going to be pretty risky on some maps, personally, because I just think because you don't have as much stall on Viper anymore, you can just get hard slams by utility a lot easier, which was like the big thing with Viper, is you just boom, boom, they can't hit me. But now it's, oh, if there's more than one choke point, they're just going to slam you. They're just going to dump util on you and kill you. So I'm really excited to see kind of how these duelist changes actually are implemented into the game and what they do. You know, I have a pretty high level of confidence, but also I'm kind of really scared to see what they do with Raze, because I think that what has happened in the past is they nerf duelists, make them not great, but then if you don't have a duelist, it makes the game really miserable, just because of how certain pieces of utility work. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. Have a great day. Leave a like and subscribe, and yeah, peace.